Woo! Guess what, people? It's another episode of the Giants Guys. I am live from my house, where I always am live. But I've got Chris, who I call Nails, but you can call him Chris. I'm Chris. We're in the lab. It's just us. We're gonna talk football. We're gonna talk about the draft. We're gonna talk about what we loved, what we hate. And guess why it's only two of us? Because everyone's shying away from any negativity. Nobody wants to hear anything bad. So they all ran away in case you people want to come with your complaints. But that's fine too, because we're going to recap the draft. We're going to talk about these coaches getting fired. We're going to be talking about and I'm going to have a little bit of fun too. Chris, do you remember a game in college? It's inappropriate to say the exact words, but there was a game in college called F, Marry, Kill. Do you remember that game?
Enlighten me. Maybe. I don't know. It's been a long time.
When you were at the bar, people would ask you like a girl that you would F, marry, or kill.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I've heard of it. I haven't played that game, but okay, go ahead.
All right. So Chris is like, where's this going? So what we're going to do is I'm going to challenge you a little bit on a couple of our new draft picks. Okay. And I'd also like to thank everybody for coming in the lab with us last week. Both draft shows went off fantastic. We had over 400 people, watch the shows, which was great. Thanks for all the support. You guys were great. We had 30 guests on. I think we had 15, 16 on Thursday, 15, 16 guests on Friday. And what happened at the end of last weekend? Our team got better. Our team is better, people. Now, you don't have to love all the picks. I don't love all the picks, but the team is better, okay? The regime is new. Everything is pointing in the right direction. Like, it's going to get better. It's going to take longer than you and I wanted to, but it's going to take, 2 to 3 years. But we'll be a better team this year. There'll be a better team this year. Chris, do you feel we're going to be better than we were last year?
I do, Craig. And to everybody out there, if we rewind back to last year, there was a lot of optimism going into last year. And then everything obviously fell apart. So if you look at this year compared to last year with at least the personnel and what we're bringing in, I think it's going to be obviously better. But I think the expectations are a little bit higher than maybe what we even anticipated a couple months ago. So I'm not saying playoffs, but I think we're going to be competitive. And maybe we hover around that 500 marker or right below that. So I have some optimism.
I would agree. You know what's interesting about last year is we were optimistic, and I think we're doing it a little bit again this year too. But fans want to buy in blindly. They want to be like, of course we're going to win games. Of course we have the best roster. I believe in the coach. I believe, and we all bought in last year. And what happened was, as soon as Lemieux went down with an injury, right? And Gates got hurt, actually, it was even before Gates got hurt. It was when Lemieux went down in camp. You started to realize, wow, we're really thin on the offensive line. Like there wasn't a lot of preparation. And it's reminded me of a year about 10 years ago where the Giants went into camp with only 2 safeties. And both safeties got hurt, and they actually had to sign C.C. Brown and Aaron Rouse. Not Aaron Ross, Aaron Rouse. Mm-hmm. And we had a miserable year because they were unprepared at the safety position. And last year was the same thing. As soon as, Lemieux went down and Thomas got banged up, we realized that they weren't prepared. This year, what's different than all the other years, Chris, and I think you'll understand where I'm going, is we're going to have competition for the first time.
That's right. And going back to last year, Craig, you saw Gettleman scrambling after training camp, finding guys off the street, making trades, Brederson off the street, and a couple other guys. So, that was a big issue as well, scrambling and not having that depth and trying to wheel and deal wherever they can bring in.
Yeah, and that is, again, another great point. See, that's why Nails is here to bring up good points. We were scrambling last year, but here's what let's talk about. Last year was last year. This year's this year. We're moving on to new things. So let's have a little bit of fun. I'm looking here, and I'm just pulling up because our draft class has some very unique names. So I don't want to mangle any of them, but I think that's what's going to happen. All right, so my first question is probably a no-brainer. Is the draft wasn't, it fell probably perfectly in that first round. What's your opinion on Thibodeau? Because I feel now he's a giant. We're rooting for him, right? He's going to make our pass rush better. We're getting to know him a little bit. He seems like he's got a pretty good sense of humor. He's very smart. And I think what I like, me personally, and I was on the phone with Leonard Marshall today, and we were talking about mentors. And I said, Strahan had LT in the room all the time telling him, what to do and what not to do and how to do it. And then Justin Tuck had Michael Strahan as a mentor and O.C. Umenyiora. And then you had JPP had Tuck and O.C. Umenyiora. Like, we've always had mentors. So I'm hoping that, and I don't know if you want to call them mentors, but like someone that they could keep them in line or give them information that they're not getting, right? So so right now, Thibodeau, 1, he's a giant. We're rooting for him. 2, we hope, the information is that Strahan's out there gonna, saying that, he'll be there for him. Were you happy with the pick when it happened?
Absolutely, 100%. Especially, I know there was that divide with Giant fans whether it was going to be Sauce Gardner or Thibodeau. But when Sauce came off the board and you have those tackles available, I think everybody said grab Thibodeau at 5. You're going to get one of the tackles, and Neal was the one we all believe was on the top of that list, and it couldn't have worked out any perfectly.
Yeah. In fact, 2 weeks ago when we interviewed Brandon Tierney from Tiki and Tierney, he had said that it's either going to be a run on offensive players or a run on defensive players, and he had a bet with Tiki Barber, that it would be a run on defensive players, and Brandon won. Evidently, Tiki Barber now was him some type of whiskey was the deal, and I think and Tiki Barber has lost. So it was a run on defensive players, and bang, Thibodeau falls in your lap. Then you, of course, you go back to back and you pull off Neal. And to me, Neal was a guy that everybody wanted. Like, I don't know many people that could say I wanted Cross over Neal. There are some people that wanted Thibodeau. I mean, Icky over, Ekwonu over Neal, but you get Neal. So, and the first round ends. Are you like me thinking, holy shit, I can't believe we just pulled that off?
Absolutely, because when as Giant fans, we've had things fall into place. Usually we're getting leapfrogged at some point in that first round. So to have both picks in the first round go the way, we all anticipated as it was moving along, you couldn't ask for a better first round. This is probably, a benchmark that we haven't had in a long time. So it went well.
I'll give a shout out to Joe Clark. We pop up one of his thing here. Let's see. Bang. Great time last week. Yeah, it was fun, Joe, to meet a couple of you guys. I did let the crew do Friday night. I didn't do Friday night. I did jump in after a while, but it was great to meet some of you guys. I do have, last year's optimism did end last year after the Denver game when they got smoked. So Joe's just ripping off comments. I think the new coach staff alone will make a difference. Yeah, all the above, Joe. All those things are right on. And as Chris just said, no one in their right mind, thought that it was going to work out the way it did. It just worked out. It just worked out. And if you're a believer in karma, you want to say maybe there's a little mojo this year because we've never had anything go our way that way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I'm not going to go too far into the rabbit hole or get caught in the weeds on our second round pick because we'll get into them a little bit later. I'm not a fan of the second round pick. However, I'm making sure that I educate myself. So I'm not, when I started doing the work, everybody's asking me and telling me, I'm like, look, let me do my thing. I will come up with a good data set that I can present back to the folks. The premise is twofold. Is that 180? So again, it's
178.
178. Robinson from Kentucky gets picked. The kid had a phenomenal 2021. He's a baller, right? Kentucky football has come a long way. The joke is Kentucky's a basketball school. Why is he there? But the kid balled out, and he's talented without a doubt. My first premise is that there are a handful of outliers, Chris, and superstars that are that size. Name, of course, Tyreek Hill and Cole Beasley. The other guys that people throw around out there, it's not accurate. When you talk about Julian Edelman, when you talk about Chris Godwin, when you talk about some of these other guys, predominantly slot receivers, because a lot of teams don't run a lot of small guys on the outside. So my premise is that, like, when you start getting into the data, and I've got a lot of it so far, it's what it's turning out to be, Chris, is that the 5'8", 175-pound, guy, one, majority of them in the NFL are undrafted. Okay, they're UDFAs. Secondly, they're predominantly special teams players. So, there are guys that were drafted in the 6th round. There are guys drafted in the 4th round. There's only a small amount that have been drafted, 1 or 2. So you ask yourself, do you believe in history? So I'm going to ask you, I haven't done, again, I'm still working on the data set. Like, I want to have it covered as best as I can. Right now, I roughly have around 40 players that I'm breaking down. 20 of them fall in the 5'8" category. The other ones are falling in the 5'10" to 5'8" category. I'm trying to find out is, A, do they make it, and do they get hurt more? Okay, that's kind of the premise, because smaller guys do get dinged up more. So my question to you is, what was your thoughts? I got a lot of flack for calling it a reach pick. And listen, and again, this kid can play. You know what I mean? And he is going to be exciting. What's your thought on Robinson?
Yeah, my thought was nobody saw this coming, right? Originally, he was labeled as maybe a 3rd or a 4th. When we pick him in the 2nd, that definitely caught everybody off guard. Now, we're getting back to his weight. I was trying to pull up a couple names. Not saying he's a superstar, but he was a 2nd-round pick in 2019. Marquis Brown, who was just traded from the Ravens, 5'9", 180. At the combine, when he came out of school, he was 166. Keep in mind, you're going to have an NFL strength and conditioning program. He's definitely going to add some weight when you add in the nutrition and a professional strength program. So you got to think he might be in that 183, maybe 185, as a year goes, as we get into maybe his 2nd year. So I'm hoping he adds a few pounds, a little more durability, but he is built. He's not like a string being like a Devontae Smith. He's got some lower body, and he's got a little thickness to him. And I believe at the 225 bench, he put up over 20 reps. So he's got some strength to put on some muscle, I think. Yeah,
well, let's take that a step further. The reason why people like him is evidently his father is a trainer, a physical trainer, and he is a bodybuilder. And I don't mean as in like taking actually competitions, but he's a gym rat. You know what I mean? So I don't even know, and I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. Sure. I don't know if his body can handle any more muscle mass. He's running like 5% body fat right now, and the kid's jacked. When you look at a picture of him with no shirt on, he's stacked. Right. So I don't know how much more mass they could put on his small frame. And if they do, I got to feel that it would be negative, slowing him down, maybe even more likely to get injured because he's too muscle. You lose all that elasticity, in your muscles. So you're right. It came out of nowhere. He could gain some weight. And again, there are some outliers. I'm not saying there aren't, but and I'll give you a quick list of the guys I've been working on: Rondale Moore, Olamide Zacchaeus, Dante Spencer, Khalif Raymond, Tavon Austin, Jakeem Grant, Dante Harris, Jalen Darden, Cam Batson, DeAndre Carter. I just read you 10 names. Right. Okay.
And
That
I
guy,
believe Tavon Austin was a #1 pick, wasn't he, from the Rams? So he was a top.
He's the only one that was a high draft pick. The rest of them are all 4, 5, 6, and undrafted free agents. And some of these guys have missed 20 games, 30 games. Guys have been on 7, 8 teams. Like, when they're that small, it's really hard to catch on. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen to Robinson, and I hope he does make it, but I was surprised with that pick there.
Yeah.
Now,
I think we all were. Yeah.
Now, here's what I want to ask you: have you ever watched any Buffalo Bills games or no?
Yeah, a few. Yeah, I have.
They have a wide receiver on their team, Isaiah
McKenzie.
Okay, here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Feel free to be like, Craig, you're crazy. But it feels like we're making the Giants Buffalo light, which is okay. But I don't think lightning strikes twice in the same place. I don't think you can catch lightning in the bottle. And I understand, like, this is the way they want to build it, which is fine. Isaiah
McKenzie.
McKenzie, yeah. Sorry, I keep blanking his name. Isaiah McKenzie averages 194 yards a year. 194 yards a year?
Right.
What am I going to do with a receiver with 194 yards a year?
Right, but then you look at a Marquis Brown who had 800 yards last year in an offense that doesn't even really, I wouldn't say as a pass. I mean, Lamar Jackson does his thing, but I think they're a little bit more conservative than Buffalo. So I think you can look at a Marquis Brown, and I feel like this type of scheme, right, that Dable is bringing in with Kafka, I think it's going to be that intermediate play with Robinson, and I think a lot of that mid-range type of crosses, digs, stuff to open it up downfield. My feeling is they want to bring that safety a little closer to the box. It's going to get annoying, right? Like a Cole Beasley or McKenzie were doing. Bring that safety down the box, and they could hit over the top. So I think he's going to be a big part of that, and he'll just have to get down, right? He's not going to want to take too many hits then at 178.
Well, again, we hope so. Like I said, I'm hoping so. But history is not on his side. Because, again, for every one that you name that's an outlier, I can name 5 that aren't. Maybe even more. But, again, I'm still going through the research to make sure I'm not just talking shit. What do you call it? I'm just tweeting out and making sure people know we're here. I see a couple of you guys coming in. All right. So then the Giants draft a very versatile guard/tackle. Izudu, I think is how you would pronounce his last name, from the University of North Carolina, UNC. He's played guard. He's played tackle. He's even played a little center. Now, again, I was a little taken back because he doesn't show up in any of the rankings. Now, I know they're just rankings, and people will want to say, well, what's all that crap? Well, all that crap was good for the last 5 months. And then when it doesn't go your way, you're like, oh, that stuff's no good. Who cares about rankings? Well, someone cares about rankings because everyone took the time to do it. People are employed to do rankings. PFF, listen, and I hate PFF, but, there's got to be some kind of benchmark. And this guy he's not in the top 35. I
know. And you had a guy like Dylan Parham, who's still there from Memphis, who was on the board. So, yeah, it does make you scratch your head a bit. But once again, it seems like versatility, right? Is that what they're leaning towards? Because he could play a few positions. Maybe he's not going to. 3rd round, I mean, do you expect him to start at some point? I think he'll have an opportunity. But I know he has a good base. I think his hands could be the issue, with upper body getting a hold and maybe a punch. But I think he's going to be a depth player. I don't know if he'll ever start, but he's going to be that rotational guy where you could plug him in at guard or tackle if you had to.
So the information that I'm getting, from, how he's been ranked or talked about, I've been reading a lot on him because I was unfamiliar with the player on any level, right? Was he actually has good hands. He definitely has a great stab that he can create power, right? Because his arms are long. He has a tendency sometimes to get out of position. You know, that was a knock on him, that, you know, he can get out of position easily, like sliding too much instead of anchoring down. But from a, you know, if he gets his hands on you, he's a really powerful guy. He's not going to let you outpower him. But you might be able to outspeed him. If you're fast and you can get inside him, you might be able to, like, you know, slide into a gap and get past him because he kind of overextends and lunges a little bit. But from a power standpoint, everything I read is that he's got power. He's got a good stab. His hands are pretty good. Yes, work in progress. Definitely. I don't know. Again, like, we're talking about reaches. I think some of these guys would have been there. But I will say that I like the fact that there's at least competition in camp for Lemieux and Bredesen and
Garcia.
Gano. Garcia. All those guys. There's a lot of competition. I just thought, as you said, there were some guys right there that were like day one starters. But they passed it up.
See, I got to check that with the hand placement, because I thought that was an issue with him, was his hand placement up top, that he was not so good with his hands with the placement. So maybe he does have a good punch, but I heard something with his hands was.
I think no, you're right. The hand placement gets him overextending and he gets out of position because he's lunging. But if he can stab, if he gets you, you know, he's got a really long arms. He can keep you, you know, from pushing the pocket, you know. But again, because he's tall and his hand placement's not great, he tends to like lunge and then overcompensate, and then he's out of position.
Off balance. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I like the Robinson pick more than I like this pick.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Robinson can turn into something really cool and fun. You know, you tell me. I mean, you were looking at Muma. We were looking at Jelani Woods, Chanel, like,
Robinson,
Robinson, Dean, Kobe Dean,
right?
Like there were some guys available right there. What's up, Tuto? I see you in the room. By the way, our friend from Italy told me that the name that he uses, Tuto, Azori, means always blue.
Nice.
So always blue,
awesome.
forever blue. Yeah, like it's not his real name. I've been calling him Tuto for like a year now.
Like we got to get a little blue in that Italian flag now. We got to try and work a little blue.
Exactly. There's no blue in that flag. Well, and
awesome.
Also he's a rugby guy, so
I know.
He may get a pass. So yeah, I'm hoping that they didn't reach for Robinson. The Azudu, a little on the head scratching side.
Yep.
However, I think they come back strong in round 4. Again, no breaking news here, but I was on the phone with Leonard Marshall today. Don't know if you saw the tweet. I did tweet it out.
I did catch it. Yeah.
Okay. Leonard Marshall said that he thinks, from being on the sideline, you know, he's a former LSU player. We all know he's a giant legend. Said to me that he thinks with, you know, the right coaching, he thinks that Flott is just as good as Stingley.
Drum roll. Yeah. Wow. That's some high praise.
I mean, I was like, say what?
Yeah.
He's very good with vertical routes. He's very good on back shoulder fades. You know, he's got great body control. He plays up high, you know, and he said, you know, they got to put some weight on him so he can stick his head in there and make tackles, because he's a little bit.
Correct. Do you project him more as a nickel, or do you see him on the outside?
Well, I originally was thinking nickel.
Right.
But Marshall tells me he's great on the outside, that he's, you know, because he's got the wheels, you know, to get down the field, and he's got the body control to get up for the 50-50 balls. So I'm thinking now that he may be the guy on the outside. Like, you know, like if Bradbury stays, no, but if Bradbury goes, he could be a day one starter.
I could see him and Robinson battling it out on that other side if no other moves are made. If Bradbury leaves, that could
and I didn't know a lot about Flott. I did not know a lot about him because Stingley gets all the attention.
And plus, you had McCreary and Booth came off the board, which we got jumped, it looks like, by the Vikings. So then we're really, you know, we're looking down the road at some of these other guys when we thought Booth might have been the guy.
Yeah, we all did. We all did. We were all going crazy for what we wanted Booth, right? So I was a little disappointed in the middle of the day, right? Because, there was no look, the Jets got Ruckert. I was crying. I'm like, come on, we're not even gonna get a tight end. Then in the fifth round, wait, he's a fourth round or he's a fifth round? Hang
on. He was third. Flat was the third, and then fourth we went with the tight end.
Bellinger.
Yes.
So Bellinger's a pretty interesting cat because, he's one of these guys that, not overly used. You know what I mean? He's definitely reminds me of someone who's going to be a better pro, because he's going to use. But he's a very good blocker. He's got good hands. I don't think that he's really scratched the surface quite yet, And we all go back to what Knox does in Buffalo. Remember, Knox never scored a touchdown in college. Not a one.
You brought that up last week in the show. Absolutely. That was a good call. Yeah. So
I think they're looking at Bellinger like that, a guy that they can mold into something. He definitely can block. He's definitely strong. I watched an interview with him like as soon as he got drafted. Seems like a good kid. And I think, believe it or not, I think he starts day one.
I think you're right because of the blocking. Because when you have Seals, Myrick, who's the other tight end on the roster besides those two guys?
Rising is still on the
Rising. He might very well be the best blocker on there, and he's just a balanced guy. I mean, I haven't watched San Diego State games, but you've read up on him. He's not going to blow you away in any one area, but he's good pretty much at everything. And he hadn't had the opportunities to catch many passes. I think 31, passes he caught this past year. But 4.6 speed, he's not going to run away from people, but decent speed for a tight end. I think he's just balanced, right? I mean, he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah. And believe it or not, like they wound up, like my sleeper was Austin
Kohler. Kohler?
No, not Charlie Kohler.
Oh, Kohler.
They put him on. They got him from in UDF free agency. They got the other tight end, the one that I had as a sleeper.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Austin Anderson.
Austin Anderson just got right.
And I thought it would be the other way around. That Bellinger would be a UDFA and Anderson would get drafted, and it was the other way around. But let me tell you, these are really two good guys.
Anderson's about 6'4". He's got some height on him too, right?
Anderson's, hang on, let me look up. I think
6'6"?
Anderson's 6'6". Yeah, he's huge.
A little bit taller.
Hang on, I'm looking it up now. Because I was so impressed with a guy that big, that could catch the ball. All right, hang on. Let's see. Man, the Giants also they also have some connection now that I found out to the UNC because they drafted another lineman from UNC. Yep. And I was kind of like, why are we doing this? What's going on?
And I think Joe Shane went down there for the pro day, not necessarily to see the quarterback, but to see these two guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because think about it.
We were all thinking quarterback when he went down there.
Yeah, when do you ever see us draft a lineman and from the same school? So I'm thinking, okay, well, he must have liked something he saw.
Yeah, another big guy. I think he's 6'7", I want to say 380, 360. The other guy, McKeithen.
Yeah, and I think he's just and think about it. He's drafted with a guy that he knows that he played with. There's got to be continuity there. All right, let's try to. Why can't I find? All right, let's try this one. I can't find his. All right, I'll look for that in a minute. So overall, what's your draft grade? What do you feel? Do you think that they got better, but we left some talent on the table. So what's your overall thought of the draft?
Well, originally, the first day you're giving them an A. Second day, knee-jerk reaction, I said B-. But you know what? I'm going to move them up to a B. The more you've got to dive into these guys and to see what they're about, I'm going to go with a solid B.
All right. I am right there with you because the first round was so good.
Set the bar very high, right?
Yeah. Here it is. Austin Allen, Nebraska. That's what I was like. Why do I'm like, Nebraska? Let me see how big this cat is because I'm pretty sure he's huge. Because I remember I watched a couple games of him playing, and I was like, that guy's too big to be a tight end. He literally. Oh, here you go. Oh my goodness. He's 6'8".
6'8". 265, 260.
6'8". It says 255.
255. Okay. Wow. Big target. Nice red zone.
38 receptions for 602 yards.
At Nebraska.
Yeah. I'm looking here. Tight end. He had 143 yards against Wisconsin. He had 1/6 this amount against one team.
They decided to throw to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that like those two guys could actually start. You know what I mean? 2 tight end sets and so forth. So
yeah.
All right. Let's have some fun with this. If you're gonna have a beer, what draft pick are you having a beer with?
I think you got to have a beer with Thibodeau just because all the media surrounding him throughout this whole process, all the smoke, all the different he's not giving it at all. He's dogging it. Too many questions by the Giants in the interviews. All that kind of stuff that was surrounding him. I think you got to go with Thibodeau. Listen, a couple of these guys would be great to have, but I think Thibodeau for me. I want to pick his brain.
No, 100. Pick his brain. The dude's entertaining. Like I mean, like
he's made for New York, right?
Yeah, he's entertaining, and he's from LA. So yeah, I'm gonna have a beer with Tibbs. All right. Mm-hmm. Who will most likely get a second contract?
If you're gonna, can I pick two? Because I'm gonna say Evan Neal is the safe one. But it could very well be Thibs. These pass rushers, they draft high. A lot of them don't pan out. We've seen in the past. I mean, there's been a lot of pass rushers taken high, and they don't get that second contract. Is Myles Garrett the last one that was drafted high that got that second contract? I'd have to look, but I would probably say, I would say Evan Neal. I mean, maybe it will be Thibs. I'm going to go with Evan Neal gets the second contract.
I am right with you. I mean, look, just the way he's handled himself, how big of a human he is. I think you have an anchor for the next 8 years. I can't, barring injury, right? I think this guy is going to be he's like the Jumbo Elliott of the 80s, right? Like, I think this guy is huge. I think he's good for the brand. I think he's a smart cat, loves football. Like, and you hear him when he talks, he just wants to play ball.
Let me ask you a question, Craig, and everybody out there. Thomas has a twisted ankle, out for a couple games. We know Neal's played left tackle. Do you keep him at right tackle, or do you want one of our swing guys, whoever that may be, or do you move Neal to left tackle? And once again, in today's NFL, guys move all around anyway, so it's not necessarily they're rushing over the blind side. They may go to the other side anyway. So really, it's not like the old days. They're coming from the left. What would you do in that situation?
I never move a guy. You know what I mean? Like, because once Neal, we know he's a left tackle, but he can play right tackle, right? So once he gets his groove in right tackle, I don't want to throw off that groove. Because
No, I'm saying that Thomas got hurt and he was out for a couple games.
No. Okay. I'm actually saying when Thomas comes back, then he has to go back and redo right tackle again. Like, all I want him to do is get the reps at right tackle and be an all-pro right tackle. I agree. Left tackle, I'm going to look at Gano or Gnu, whatever, I'm going to look at anything, at least for a game and try it out before I move Neal. Because once everyone's playing out of position, it's a recipe for disaster, right? I mean, look how Gates got hurt. Gates didn't get hurt playing center. Gates got hurt playing guard. Okay. So if Gates is still playing center, we're not having this conversation, right?
Right.
So hey, Jay Bones, I see you in the room. And yes, energy here. Let me pop this up. He says, energy installed with Tibbs coming. Yeah, energy. That's why we're trying to have a beer with the guy. So yeah, no, I'm not moving him, Chris. I'm leaving Neal to be the best right tackle in football, and I'm going to figure it out. If it's a long-term injury, yes. But if you're talking 2 to 3 games, I'm leaving Neal where he's at.
We'll fill him in.
Unless we're absolutely desperate.
Right. Okay.
All right. Who will be out of these, not 11 picks that we have? Who's the guy that's going to surprise you the most?
The guy that's going to surprise us the most.
Yep.
Wow. I mean, you could say Robinson, but I don't know. Is it going to be a surprise? Because you've heard so many good things about him too. So I don't know if it'll be a surprise. What he's got playmaking ability. I say what's going to surprise us the most. If you go down to maybe one of our linebackers, I want to say possibly Darian Beavers out of Cincinnati.
Okay.
I mean, if he gets on the field, but I'm going to go with this. I'm actually going to go with the safety because we're short on safeties right now, and he's going to get a lot of playing time. So I'm going to go with
Darian Beavers.
No, I'm sorry. I'm going to change that. I'm going to go with the safety, Dan Benton out of Iowa. The safety, round 4.
Really? Okay, so you're thinking he's going to surprise a lot of folks because he's going to get some playing time.
I think he's a later round where we got Julian Love, McKinney back there, but after that we're kind of wide open. So I think he is going to get a lot of playing time, and he will surprise. Being a later round pick, not too many people know about him, and I think he's going to open some eyes. I think he has an opportunity to get a lot of playing time, and that's why I think he'll surprise.
All right, I'm gonna see who's going to surprise us. You are going with Dane Belton. All right, I'm going with Cordell Flott. I think that he's definitely under the radar because Stingley's taken all the hype. And then, of course, Sauce has taken a lot of the hype. Booth has taken a lot of the hype. So I think...
And you could throw McCreary in there as well. He was right up there with those... with
McCreary, too. Yeah. Exactly.
Elam, I guess. Yeah.
And I think, Flott being a little bit thinner, you know what I mean? Maybe he's not a thumper. I think that Cordell Flott's going to be a fun guy to watch. I'm going with Flott purely on the fact that I think he's being a little bit overlooked. What's up, Patel? Glad you're in the room. Good to see you. What's up, Miz? I see you guys in here. So yeah, my sleeper or the guy who will surprise me is Flott. I like your pick at Belton though, because you're right. That is a position you could step in and make a difference and open some eyes.
Well, same thing on your end too, Craig. Because once Bradbury, whatever, if he's not here, he's Flott's going to move up pretty quickly because now he's going to be definitely in the running to get a lot of playing time because we're gonna need him, I think.
All right, next question: who will start on day one? One of the draft picks that will walk on the field. The first come, I guess that would be like I don't know, last week of August, first week of September.
Mm-hmm. Are we leaving out the first rounders?
Nope. You just got to pick me one. Who starts day one?
Oh, well, the obvious one is Evan Neal. I mean, Thibodeau as well, but I'm going to go with Evan Neal. He's going to be locked right in there at right tackle.
I agree. It's Neal because you know what? Tibbs may be a package guy in the beginning, just how they brought along Ojulari. If I'm not mistaken, I do not think Ojulari walked on the field the very first snap of the game, and he packaged in, and then as he got more experience. And Tibbs may be a better player than Ojulari. Well, we have no idea. But we do know that Neal is needed, so he's definitely walking on the field starting day one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ready? If you had a daughter, which one of these guys would you let date your daughter?
I haven't gone into their bios deep enough. I don't know.
Gotta make a choice.
Oh man. Wow. What a question there, Coach.
That's what I do.
Oh man.
I already mine's easy. I got
it. Let's hear yours. I don't know. Go ahead.
Darian Beavers.
Darian Beavers.
The guy is just so excited to play football and have been drafted, because listen, if we don't have these extra picks, he doesn't get drafted. Okay. If we don't have 11 picks, there's a good chance he goes UDFA.
Right.
So I see him on multimedia. He's already like mocking himself up in a jersey. Like I think, and I hope I'm rooting for him. I hope Darian Beavers makes it, or maybe it's Bevers. I hope he makes it. I think he's just got the right attitude. So, he seems like a nice cat. So yes, I would let Darian Beavers date my daughter. So you're up. Which one? Wait a minute.
I'm gonna go with Wandale. I saw that University of Kentucky video they put out when he was selected by the Giants, and I know everybody's got their family around all the time, but there was something different about with him. It seemed like he was just a humble kid. It just there was celebrating. Yeah, Wandale Robinson. So there was celebrating, but you just felt like there's something humble about him. And it struck me in that video. So I like him already. I'm going to be rooting for him, but there's some type of humbleness with him. Just
all right. So Miz says that he'll let Madden date his daughter, McFadden date his daughter, Micah McFadden. So hang on a minute. I want to make sure Micah McFadden's the middle linebacker.
The linebacker,
right?
yeah.
All right, Miz, you're gonna have to give me more than that. Like what? He's very humble. Okay, that's fine. Here's the thing about McFadden. I'm hoping he outkicks his coverage, because he just reminds me a little bit. I know his forte is blitzing. That he's a really good blitzer. He's great at shooting gaps and getting to the quarterback. I think he had 6-7 sacks last year. But I don't see him as a horizontal scraper. Like, I don't know if, like, he reminds me of David Mayo a little bit. Like, he reminds me of all downhill. And listen, David Mayo left the Giants and went to the Redskins and had a great year.
They threw Ryan Connolly. They threw that name out as well. Ryan Connolly.
Yeah. And I want McFadden to start, because I am not no, I was saying Robinson humble. Oh, yeah. Robinson is definitely a humble class guy, without a doubt. But that's hit that you're Miz, you're going with Chris's pick and not mine. That's fine. That's fine. I hope we passed on so many linebackers, Chris, that I really hope a Blake Martinez clone, maybe Miz. I'm going to pop this one up there. Here's the difference. You're talking about, one guy went to Stanford, one guy didn't. Okay. One guy was selected. Martinez was a high draft pick. I mean, McFadden's a little bit down the bottom, but I like McFadden. And I actually think he's going to be but he's definitely a 2-down backer. I don't see him as a 3-down backer.
Craig, you made a great point. His specialty is hitting those gaps from what I read. And he's a big guy and strong, but he does have a problem when he gets locked up at that point of attack with an offensive lineman. So I don't know if it's a strength issue. He needs to get a little stronger, but that's been kind of the info on him, is that he's great with the gaps, but locking up, he needs to get a little stronger, because he kind of gets stonewalled.
And here's the other thing.
Or in the wash, as they say.
Yeah, 100%. Great point. Because here's the other side is, we don't know if Carter Coughlin is going back to the outside. Because remember that he was a stud pass rusher at Wyoming, right? No, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right. At Minnesota, he was a stud pass rusher there. They bring him in. He has some, he makes some plays on the outside, but for the lack of depth at linebacker, they move him to the inside in 2021. And then he got hurt and he didn't really get a chance to do a whole lot. McFadden's going to have to compete against Coughlin, I'm thinking, for that spot. And I actually think Coughlin's primed to win it, actually, because he's now been at the position for 2 years, going on his second year. So I think that Coughlin might be able to beat out Crowder. I'm not a Crowder fan. I don't think Crowder, could hit the side of a barn with a bazooka. I mean,
I'm
he's
with
just,
you. Yeah.
Nothing against the guy, but just he's not a linebacker in the NFL.
Especially not in the middle. He gets washed out pretty easily.
Yep. Okay. Out of these guys, who's got the biggest bust potential?
Well, when you think of bust, you're thinking top of the draft. But I'm not going to say Thibs is going to be the top with the potential to be the bust. I'm rooting for the kid. I'm going with Robinson just based on the outliers with his weight, height, the type of offense that he's going to be. I would say the top of offense, but just what he's going to bring to the NFL level. We know what he did in college, but is he going to be able to translate that to the NFL with bigger guys and being a little bit smaller, like you brought up? So I'm going to say Robinson.
You're not alone there because Patel said the same thing. He says Robinson. I'm actually going the biggest bust potential is Zudu, because I'm not so sure he's ready for the NFL. Like I think like he was a nice player, right? Yep. But like he didn't rank in the top 30 for a reason.
But Craig, can we actually call him a bust when he wasn't even on the list and he was never even projected? From us, can you even say he's a bust because we didn't expect this?
We're just saying that out of the 11 guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, out of 11 guys they drafted, who has the biggest bust potential?
Okay.
So to me, I think I'm going with Zudu. Not that I want it to happen.
No,
I'm
but
rooting for the kid all the way. I think he's got an uphill battle because, again, he wasn't a highly ranked guy for a reason. Whether that's maybe he's got a character flaw, which I don't think that's the case. Maybe he's got he's got some hiccups in his game. Maybe he's never faced top tier nose tackles and defensive guards. Tackles, defensive tackles and nose guards. Maybe he's never, even when he played tackles, maybe he's never faced top tier edges. Like, I just feel like him, like he may get swallowed up.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Craig, he came to the right team to get a shot.
Yeah.
He came to the right. If there's a team to go to have a shot, it's the Giants.
It is without a doubt. All right. Next question is revolving around something I always have a lot of fun with, and that's numbers. So every interview that we've done, from Alex Bachman, who's on the practice squad, to Carl Banks, Leonard Marshall, David Deal, Kevin Boss, all these guys, Chase Blackburn, I always ask them about their numbers. Sometimes guys wear numbers in high school. They wear them through college. They wear them in the pros. And in between, some funny things happen, like how they get their numbers. I've told the story numerous times on how Carl Banks wore 54 at Michigan State, shows up very first day, and there's Andy Hedden leaning on the wall at the
locker room,
at the equipment manager's office, and he says, and I quote, "Hey, homeboy, you want 54? 30 grand. And Carl Banks looks at him, looks over at the equipment manager, and says, "Throw me a jersey, whatever's in the bag." He reaches in the bag, he pulls out 58, he throws it to him, and there's history, right?
Yeah.
So the other thing that we like to talk about on Twitter, because we're bored during the day and no one's actually working.
Yeah, nobody works.
Yeah, is that Kayvon Thibodeau wears number 5, Graham Gano wears number 5. Last year, somebody wanted 5, which was Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers wore it at Michigan. He wanted to come back to get his number, and Gano was like, no problem for the right price. Right. And then that turned into like a little bit of a Twitter joust between Jabril Peppers and Gano. All in fun, right? All in fun. Like, yeah. And Graham Gano is, as someone has pointed out to me numerous times on Twitter, he's our leading scorer.
Pretty sad, right?
He's the only guy that's gone to the Pro Bowl. You know what I mean? He's earned the right to keep his number. So my question to you is, what's your feeling on Thibodeau wanting 5? Should he have to pay for it? Should Gano have to give it up? One guy was like, they should go to management. I'm like, well, that's what's wrong with society. Okay? That's what's wrong with society. You don't get what you want, so you run and you tell mom.
Yeah. I think it's standard procedure. You got to pay for it. I heard a story with Jeff Eagles and Plaxico Burress. Plaxico had to pay a couple bucks to get it from Eagles. So you know what? I think it's understood, right? Within the ranks. It's understood. You want the number, you pay for it. I don't think Thibs will be shocked about that. So why not? Why not? Gano's had a few different numbers. I think he had a different one at Washington and Carolina, or maybe he had 5 in Carolina. I think one of the spots he had a different number. So how attached is he to 5 anyway?
Yeah, well, he's been an All-Pro in 5, and he's the Giants' leading scorer in 5, and he don't miss many kicks, so I think he's pretty comfortable wearing 5.
Well, we'll blame Thibodeau then when if he changes a number and he misses a few.
100%. 100%. All right, so all right, then you're okay. For me, I don't think you sell it at all. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I remember Eli Manning had to buy 10 from Fiegels, and then Plaxico had to buy 17 from Fiegels.
Right.
So if the story is accurate, he took his family to like Hawaii or something like that, or on vacation with the first round of money, and then the second round of money, I think Fiegel said he created like an outdoor deck with a fire pit and a barbecue, a built-in barbecue area, all off money on selling his number. Tibbs has got to earn his meal. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you. All right.
You walk into this, and that's what the younger fans don't get. They're like, oh, he's it's about marketing. I'm like, dude, settle down, Sparky.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it'll have a price, right, Craig? He's not going to give it away for nothing. It's definitely going to have a price tag.
Or should he give it away at all? Like,
all right.
If he doesn't want to give it away, he shouldn't have to.
No, he shouldn't. Absolutely not. Well, he won't be obviously be forced to, right? I mean, he'll keep it and keep it. And besides, we should go back to the days of I know they changed everything, and I'm showing my age, but linemen, edge rushers should be 70s, 90s. Linebackers in the 50s. I mean, things have all changed now. It makes it even more complicated.
Yeah. I didn't like actually the rule change that whatever they made that allow guys to wear single digits and stuff like that. I always liked the numbers, but I'm a big numbers guy. I always ask the players that we interview on like how they got their number, why they wear the number.
Yep. And Craig, real quick, going off subject, how weird is it, and people listening, when you see a college football game and you see the kicker at number 91? Like, some kicker in the 90s. It just doesn't look, the small pads, the belly, it doesn't look right. It just doesn't fit.
The thing with that is like, that guy came onto the team to play like, compete for kicker, right? And maybe play a little special teams or something like that. So I slapped him a number. In fact, I'll go as far as to tell you this. So when I played for TCNJ, the college in New Jersey, we had 2 sets of numbers, right? So we had practice number and a game number, right? And, when I got there, I couldn't get any numbers that I wore. When I was in middle school, I wore 21. I wore 25 in college, and I was wearing 23 25 in high school and 23 in college. And I wanted to switch my number, so I went to switch my number, and I lost it because the guy came back and took his old number. So like I gave up 23, right, to wear 25, and the guy came back and said, I decided not to change my number, but I had already given up 23. Right. So
well, the good news, you went from Perry Williams to Mark Collins, so that was actually pretty good.
Exactly. Well, because I was playing safety and corner at that time.
Okay.
But I was 25 in practice, right? So that was and I don't know why, we just had practice numbers, right? So and for the game, I think it had to do with the travel. But if you traveled or if you were hurt, you didn't travel. If you weren't hurt, you did travel.
Okay.
So I went back to get the number. The number was gone. So I had to wear 46. Right. And I hated it. That
totally blew your mind at that point. You're not even in the 20s anymore.
No, I'm like 46. I was like, this is wrong.
Yeah, you feel like a fullback back then.
Yeah. like strong safety wearing 46 is just not happening.
Yeah. I could tell, Craig, it's still affecting you. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna get you to let go of that a little bit.
I know. I don't know. I'm like an elephant. I forgive, but I never forget.
I hear you.
All right. So what number's Tibbs going to wear? What do you think?
I think he's going to get his.
I'm going with 55.
Oh, so you don't think he's going to get it from Gano?
No.
I think he will. I think Gano seems like a nice guy. He'll call a price. It's accepted within the locker room. I think he's going to get his number.
All right. I'm going the other way. I'm thinking he's wearing 55, like to be a giant linebacker, not wear 5 because it ain't college anymore. And I don't think Gano gives a crap because Gano is Cano's worth his weight in gold, and I don't think he's moving for any rookie, regardless, if he's going to be great or not. And we don't know if he's going to be good. He could be a bust, right?
I hope not. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But if you look at the edge rushers drafted, Myles Garrett's done away, but there's a lot of them that, man, those first rounders. There's a lot of them that have been busts.
Just J Bone says, look, wish I had a number to sell.
Yeah. Hey, don't we all? Don't we all?
Exactly. I'm like thinking, like, man.
Yeah. But Cano seems like a nice guy, Craig. He seems like he'll call a price and it won't be too crazy. He'll give it up. I think he will.
All right, let's move on.
He might want an outdoor kitchen too,
Yeah, I could use an outdoor kitchen too.
There you go.
Well, let's move on to what happens this week. After the draft comes, we find out that, Shane, kind of put some information out there to see where that information would go. Evidently, that information gets leaked. There's only one individual that basically, knew this information. They basically said they had a bad interview with Thibodeau, and then they see where it went. And they didn't have a bad interview with Thibodeau, but they put it out there to see where it went. And the Giants basically, Chris Pettit and a bunch of the executives on that staff have all been fired, the minute the draft ends. So my question is, do you think that there was Mara said, hey, don't fire my guys until the draft is over kind of a thing, see what they can do, see if they're worth any, worth their salt. Because remember when Dave's got the job and Shane got the job, he didn't have any time to reconstruct his scouting department. So he inherited the scouting department. And here we are literally, 72 hours after the draft. And I don't know how many guys got fired.
I think it was 4 total.
Four guys got fired. Yeah. What's your thought on these guys getting fired?
Well, I think it's standard procedure in the NFL, right? Especially with a guy like Pettit, who you hear kind of has a little birdie, little chirpingness. I think, like most staffs, they hold on to him till after the draft. Do you want a guy like Pettit going out there in the public with Twitter and these fake accounts or whatever he's doing, throwing names around, what the board might look like, or throwing rumors out there, what the knowledge that he knows? So I think, Shane walked in there with a clean slate. I'm sure he heard stuff about Pettit and some of these others. And it's funny you mention that, because Pat Kerwin, who's on NFL radio, when he was a Jet executive, he mentions a few times that if there was ever a situation where they thought they were leaking information within the organization, they'll put out false information to that particular individual and they'll see where it goes. And he's mentioned, without mentioning names, that it's happened on several occasions where they fired people when he was an executive just for that reason of putting out information. They were the only one. It got out. They knew it was them, and they fired him. And from what I understand, that's pretty much what happens with the whole league with these GMs. So I'm not passing it by Shane at all. I think he walked in there with a clean slate with these guys, but he did hear rumblings of who to watch, who's this in his ear. And I think he probably did put stuff out there and see where it went.
And I'm glad it happened too, because it's just another step on getting a fully clean slate. You're not hanging, that albatross isn't hanging around your neck that I got to carry these guys from the old regime and this and that. Now he gets to bring in 4 guys that are his.
No different than a coach, right, Craig? I mean, Pettit was like a Gettleman guy, going back to Gettleman's time when he was in player personnel with the Giants. So there's a history there as well. And just like a coach, Shane wants his own guys. And now we're going to see, as we go through this year, those spots being filled, just like a coaching staff, bringing guys in that he works with or has a relationship from other teams. In fact, with the Carolina Panthers situation, there could be a couple scouts there from where he was at, because with Matt Rule, he's on the hot seat. So I might even look to some of these Carolina Panther scouts that he has a relationship with going back a few years ago.
Yeah, and I also hope, I was really excited about the Kafka signing because, again, lightning doesn't strike twice. You don't get lightning in a bottle twice. So I didn't want to become Buffalo Light. Yes, I understand you want to bring in those schemes and the theme and how you did things there, because that's what right? It makes sense. Mm-hmm. But right. I didn't want to try too hard to be Buffalo, right? Because at the end of the day, we never think that Daniel Jones is going to be Josh Allen, and we don't think that they're the same talent is there. But I'm glad they got Kafka to give them a little bit of influence at Kansas City. I'm hoping that the new guys that they bring in are from other organizations, like other places that they were at. They were at New England, they were at Miami. Like, I hope they bring in guys from outside, right? Just bring in more ideas, bring in more schematics, bring in more analytics, or bring in more theories. Like, I'm like, okay, we've done the Buffalo thing. We've tapped every resource we can without being called, the Bills, right? Like, so I'm hoping that they reach outside their comfort zone and they bring in some new bodies that potentially are related to other teams.
Well, all indications, right, Craig? That seems like that's what exactly they're doing on all fronts, whether it's the coaching staff and now it looks like the front office. That's all going to change. But I think all indications, I think we should, at this point, trust in Shane. It looks like he's kind of doing what everybody was hoping for up to this point.
Yeah, there is no doubt about that, because he's lived up to what we thought, right? He's basically, again, outside of that round 2 pick and round 3 pick that for some are head scratchers or some are a wait and see, and they're in wait and see mode. He's done great stuff, you know what I mean? So far, and everything I'm seeing on Dabes with this, because you have a new coaching staff, you get to have the players in a week early. So I'm watching a lot of video of him on the field, and he's having fun.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah. And he's excited about what he's going to bring to the table. This offensive line will finally have competition. Like, we can make guesses that it's Neal, Glowinski, Feliciano, and then maybe
Garcia, maybe.
Or Lemieux,
right,
and Thomas, but at least there's competition there. There are guys, like who was a pretty decent swing guy for Atlanta before he got hurt, and there is some guys they're going to compete. Like someone said, "Oh, Lemieux's not even going to make the team." I'm like, settle down, Sparky. Remember, he came in and played his rookie year because he had to. And the big thing was, I think Judge said about him was he wants to fight everybody. Like he's a young kid. Now he's experienced like missing a full year with injury. That creates a lot of character when you're by yourself a lot and you're working out and you're trying to get better. Like, I can't rule out the fact that Lemieux, didn't get better.
Yeah.
What
do they say? Like, a lot of self-reflection, right? Yeah.
Yeah, because everyone's like ruled him out because he came in as a rookie, not expecting to play as I think he was a 6th-round draft pick, maybe a 7th-round draft pick. Like, he came in and filled in and did the best he could, coming from Oregon. So, like, I feel he's getting a lot of heat, and I'm just like, let the guy play. You know what I mean? Like, just see what he can do. And Bobby Johnson, the Giants' new, line coach, he's going to do wonders for the line. Whether the offensive line is practiced against the defensive line and the defensive line practiced against the offensive line, like they're going to be better for it, because for the last couple of years they were handed a job.
Yeah, they sure were. Yeah.
No one had to come in and fight for a job.
Especially last year, not one lineman drafted in that draft.
No. So we got new players, we got new coaches.
And by the way, Craig, one more thing. I think it's going to be great when you see the training camp clips and the highlights of Neal and Thibs going at it. If they're on the same side at some point, that's going to be fun. Helping each other get better, right? Yeah.
Because there's something out there on Twitter about a guy from Alabama getting run over, and the quote is that it's Neal, and it's not Neal. Like, I don't know why someone hasn't deleted that thing yet, but
and in a typical Wink fashion, he's going to move Thibs on both sides. He's not just going to stay on the left side or right side. So he's going to work against Thomas, which will be interesting because Thomas is doing a heck of a job. So on both sides, you're going to see. It's going to be fun to watch.
All right. So in here, I'm looking for the comment that was made. I don't know if Miz made the comment. I'm looking back for it now. It was a while ago. It was about – here it is. Tuto says, should they keep Bradbury? 2 years ago, Graham allowed him to fly and give it all his best, but last year they forced him to play soft zone, and he was tripping. He'll do great with Coach Wink. So I'm going to hand this to you and allow you to tell me what you think should be done with Bradbury.
You know, there's a lot of stuff's been said about Bradbury. He's not like that man-to-man type of corner. He plays better in zone, longer strider going down the field. But getting to the financials at this point, because, you know, what's going on with the cornerback position, I think maybe you have to rip up the contract and give him an extension. Can't do a restructure, so you might have to rip it up. But I think going into next year, you have at least $55 million under the cap. So if you have to, you know, do a new contract and push it down the line a little bit, something Shane didn't want to do, I don't know if you don't do that now, considering that cornerback position and the way it was addressed in the draft. You know, I know Flock is going to be a rookie. He's going to definitely. Is it accurate if they cut him?
Is it accurate if they cut him? They save $10 million.
I believe so. I believe it's 10, and then is there a 12 million cap hit? I think they save 10.
So let me ask you this question. So I guess again, like, I don't know if it's a Twitter thing. I don't know if it's a fan thing. You know, like, everyone's so easy. Look, you and I both have kids that play sports. We've played sports. When did the world get so ready to quit on players? Like 2 years ago, we were like this.
Yeah.
Bradbury. Like, oh man, what a steal. Guy makes a Pro Bowl. And we are like, woo. And then last year he starts off slow and we're like, what the bleep? And now we're like, get rid of him. Too expensive. Like, I get it. But let's for a second put the money on the side. Now, 9 people are going to say to me, you can't put the money aside. I'm putting the money aside. Okay. This guy is a Pro Bowl player. This guy was the number one, acquisition for the Giants in the offseason. This guy played himself into free agency and someone giving him a new contract. He's a good player.
Yes.
So how bad can an all-pro be at playing man? Doesn't have to be his forte, but I'm pretty sure that if the season starts off with his new coordinator and his new DB coach, that he can play. Like, this isn't a guy who's like playing on one leg or with one eye. I mean, like, this is a Pro Bowl player. He's got to be. If a left tackle could play right tackle and a strong safety could play, free safety, and a guard can play center, but what we can't have a corner that's better at man play zone, or play zone and can't play man. Like, I understand that there is a significant difference in skill set, playing man. I will say, like, I can only tell you I played small D3 ball, but I was good. I was better in zone, but I was really good at jamming. Like, I like my forte would be able to stand right on the line and right at the whistle, just bang, hit a wide receiver right in the pads, push him back, get him off his route. He's frustrated. He's trying to swing at me. He's trying to get past me. Now, if that guy opened up his hips and went down the field, me and my 4.85, 4.9 speed, was not catching the guy who ran the 4.6, right?
Right.
So, and that wasn't very often because, sometimes we would play a defense where I would come and play box safety, right? So I would jam on the line. But as far as zone, I was better in zone. I had to think, like, Bradbury has more talent in his pinky than I have in my entire body. And I'm thinking that, like, why are we giving up on him so fast and so easy?
It's the price tag. And Craig, you make a great point. Love Graham. He did a great job. It was the bend, no break defense coming down the field, and then we held them in the red zone. But one thing, being at the games and seeing on TV, they played off all the time. Those corners were never uptight. Now, Wink, total opposite. He's He's going to be physical. He's going to bring him up tight. And you know what? You make a great point, because Bradbury, whatever deficiencies he may have of being one-on-one going down the sideline, 2 years later than his all-pro year, maybe he slows down a little bit. But I think the jam at the line is going to help him. And I think that's going to be a benefit in this defense, is now he can play up and get that jam in there, which, Graham, that really wasn't his style.
No, it wasn't. It used to drive me crazy. So here's the next question in that. If they cut him, they save $10 million. Cutting him just feels dumb.
Does.
You know what I mean? So my question is, though, is if you're Bradbury, you're kind of getting traded. He hasn't been to any of the OTAs, and he's a team guy. So they either told him to stay home or his agent told him to stay home. Do you think he can just come back to the team and it's no big deal, or is his ego going to be bruised?
No, I think he understands it's a business. He was a free agent. I think he gets it. And I don't think in any discussions the Giants have had with him, he understands that it's a team that was in a bad situation with the salary cap. It's not like the Giants walked into free agency with $50 million under the cap, and then maybe he'd be a little ticked off, you don't want to sign me. But I'm sure he understands that this has been an issue. The salary cap's been an issue, and Shane's doing, what he needs to do, get this back in order. But I'm just, maybe I'm stupid, but I'm looking next year when they have $55 million minimum, might even be 75. If they push it down the line a little bit with the cap going up, they're going to be in good shape next year. So I think you're better off keeping them as well. I don't think at this point, when you didn't address it with a Sauce Gardner in the draft, I don't think you could put a guy like Flott out there or Robinson on the other side. I think you're going to have to work something out with Bradbury. And I think teams know you're going to cut him right there. Are they going to really trade for him? I don't know. But I think they all know what situation the Giants are in.
Nobody's going to trade for him because they know you're about to cut him, right? So
you see it all the time.
Leverage. Yeah, I will say also he's probably great for Flott, and I think that if Flott's going to learn how to play in space, you know what I mean, and playing the NFL, I think Bradbury's a good guy to lean on. You know what I mean? And as much as Jackson will be too, I just think Bradbury would be a guy to be like, I don't know. I hope he stays. I hope he has a good attitude if he stays, and like I said, I don't, today's day and age, everybody's just like, he's a bum. He goes, cut him, trade him. I'm just not that guy. I just think that he's got more to offer, and yes, he's going to have to work harder and get better at it. And if he wants to be a pro and he seems like a pro, some guys will pout. Some guys will pout, and some guys will not get better. I don't think that he's that guy. So
yeah, you haven't heard anything out of him. You haven't heard any type of
no social media, no interviews, no nothing. All right, well, look, guys, listen, that's all we have for right now. You're listening to another episode of the Giants Guys. Going to throw this up. It's on YouTube, but I'll edit it up a little bit. Coming up. So we got sponsors coming up. So we'll have some sponsors to take care of coming up. We've got some giveaways coming up. I got some gear coming in that we got to get rid of. So we're gonna do some contests. There's a rumor that a guy named Chris has a pair of tickets that we might be able to give away. There is some rumor floating around that Nails has a pair of tickets to give away. So there's some cool stuff that the Giants guys are doing.
Can I ask you tickets for what?
A game.
Oh, a game, of course.
Yeah. You had mentioned you might have a game that you might be able to part
Absolutely,
with, right?
Yeah, we'll do something. Yeah, for sure.
I just volunteered for that, didn't I?
No, all good, man. All good.
So one, you got to hit the subscribe button, right? Click, bang, 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 bang. Hit it. It helps us out, people. The algorithm helps us out. We need you to subscribe. Your grandmother subscribe. Your uncle to subscribe. Your creepy next door neighbors looking in your window at your wife. I need him to subscribe. We need all that crazy stuff. 2, follow all the guys. Follow the NY Giants Rush crew. Follow them, interact with them, engage with them. Most of them have a good sense of humor. Unlike me, I can be a little snarky. But I do appreciate all the followers, all the peeps that we interact with at the draft show. There's some cool stuff coming up. We're working on. So I'm going to look this up for you right now. So I just give us a plug. If you like Madden, okay, I'll say it again. If you like Madden, next week I'm going to be interviewing. Me and Spartan are going to be interviewing one of the biggest personalities on YouTube. And I know you're saying that's not possible because that's so-and-so. right? I'm going to tell you, I'm looking him up now. All right. If you guys are listening to this tomorrow or tonight, what your MMG. I mean, this cat has, his videos do 100,000 views. He's got 2.2 million subscribers.
Wow.
All right. This guy I've watched a couple of his things. He's entertaining as hell. So it's just MMG. He's so popular that he actually was at the draft in Vegas and actually read off the Detroit Lions 3rd round pick. Okay. Like the NFL knew who he was, and the NFL invited him to the draft to read the Lions pick. So I'm sure you guys are familiar with him. MMG. He's huge into Madden. He's a huge content creator. So if you're watching this at any level, I would say to you, for instance, he's got Madden, all sorts of stuff on Madden, how it got popular, why, all this stuff. Plus, he's got tons of other content up there. MMG. I don't know. I don't know him, but Spartan Mike knows him because guess what? He's a Michigan State alumni, and that's all I have to say. He's one of the first guys that were doing YouTube like it was high school. Okay, so next week we're going to be interviewing an MMG. Of course, I'm an old head, but I'm going to watch a lot of his stuff and his content so I can actually, have a good interview and have some fun with him. Chris, what are you working on? You working on anything? I know you're working on the roster piece. So where are you working on the next roster piece? Is there stuff? Are you waiting on these UDFAs to come in?
Yeah, I'm waiting for week 1. No, whatever you want, Craig.
Chris is going to be your guy, folks, for roster movement. Who's on the practice squad? Who came up for COVID? Who went down? There's a bunch of UDFAs he's probably going to sign. So you'll get something from him, maybe not every week, but he'll constantly be updating you with Twitter and an article on the rosters. Cause he had the idea of we're all always wondering who's actually playing, who's this guy, who's that guy. So He's going to be on top of the numbers they're wearing. Are they on the roster? Did they get sent down? And so forth. Interviews. We got OJ somewhere on the back burner that we're working on, OJ Anderson. And a couple other guys too. So thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a little bit of fun with us, and we're out. Peace.